I'm Steph Crawford. I'm sitting with my awesome team, Nicole and Bailey. And today you're going to learn a little bit about some of our backgrounds. So let's start with you, Nicole. All of us have come to real estate in different parts of our life, whether in one chapter or another. Let's talk about you. How did you get into real estate originally?
Yeah, so you met me at your first job in real estate.
I did.
And that was my first job in real estate.
I didn't actually know that.
It was.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So I was working at a law firm that was doing closings. I had known so much about real estate at that point that I really enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy the legal side of it. So I decided to get my real estate license, and the rest is history. I never turned back. I got my first job with Gibson Sotheby's. Steph and I worked for a top producer there, and we really learned a lot. It was a great learning curve for us, and just getting the inside scoop of how high-end real estate works in Boston. So it was a great learning experience. And then
also what sets you apart is that you have this legal background, so you can offer a ton of insights. Didn't you also go to law school?
I did go to law school. So I did the very long route getting my real estate license, but it was definitely a valuable education.
She does not advertise that to people. She does not want to be,
I am not a practicing attorney. I do not give legal advice, but we do work with great attorneys that can give you all the answers.
Absolutely.
But it is very helpful, reading contracts or negotiating with other agents. It's very important to know the legalities behind buying or selling a home.
Totally. That's great. Bailey. Bailey just started with us a month ago.
Yeah.
We're gonna
just about.
I met her through an event we had through our home ownership course that we do sometimes at organizations. Bailey at the end was like, I want to get into real estate. And I was like, you're so sweet. And then she's like, we need to talk. I'm like, okay. And then I think we exchanged numbers. And then she called me like 2 days later. And she was like, hi, do you remember me? I'm like, yes. And then she's like, I was serious about what I said. I was serious. And so that summarizes her total go-getter personality. She is an incredibly hard worker and will do whatever it takes for her clients. So tell me how you decided. You have such a history for your family connections, your fiance's connections. It was probably me too.
You were it. It was really just Steph.
Yeah.
So my background actually has nothing to do with business or real estate at all. I originally thought I wanted to be a PA, a physician assistant. So I went through my undergrad as pre-PA, got my degree from UConn, worked for a year in emergency medicine while I was doing some didactic courses, and I was like, I actually hate this.
Yeah.
And
we have a similar background that way, because I did pre-med undergrad. Yeah. So
you have to have such a calling for it, and I feel like if you're, a girl that's good at math and science growing up, they're like, oh, you should be
in medicine.
You should be a doctor.
Right.
And I do come from an immigrant family, and if you are, good at those things, med school is the only option in their mind.
Yeah.
So that was my kind of beginning, and then I very quickly realized that wasn't a fit for me. I was in a transitional period in my life. My now fiance, then boyfriend, had just gotten a job in the city, and I was like, great, I'll move with you.
Yeah.
So I reached out to a couple of my connections that I had here and ended up getting a sales position as a senior corporate advisor for Equinox. So I started working in luxury high-end sales very early in my career, and that is where I actually met my previous boss. Then transitioned very organically into a role at an intellectual property and corporate law firm, where I led their business development, and then eventually ended up meeting you at a very serendipitous time. Actually, I was already taking the real estate course. thinking that I was just going to do it on the side to help out with some family ventures.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know, I'm not super happy with what I'm doing right now. I feel like I've kind of reached this plateau in what I can do for this firm, and like I want to kind of operate more autonomously and like really feel fulfilled in my day-to-day.
You didn't realize that you're gonna work like 3 times as hard all day, every day.
I literally just said that to one of my very good friends. I texted her because we would FaceTime every day.
Right.
And we haven't talked in 2 weeks. And I was like, I'm so sorry we haven't had time to catch up. I left my 9 to 5 to work 24/7.
Right. It's absolutely true.
Which, granted, I'm working so much more now, but it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like...
But you're working for yourself in a lot of ways. I think for me personally, this job, it has allowed me to like be more autonomous, but there's a lot more risk. Who was, one of you were telling me yesterday, you said real estate is like waking up every day being unemployed.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's what you put into it, which is what I love about this industry, is that you have to be self-accountable, but if you put in the work, you will see the return. And it does take a little bit of time as a new agent, but
a little
if
bit.
you're
it
committed,
takes a lot of time. A lot of time.
It takes months. It does take months to build up that client base, your own general knowledge, to be comfortable with what you're doing. But it's definitely such a...
It's rewarding.
Yeah, it's such a rewarding career.
I will say, you know, something that I think Bailey and you, Nicole, have had a lot of experience with recently. We're getting a lot of rejection. So I think people talk about all the successes, especially on social media and some of these other platforms, like, and even ours, I would say, closed, just did this. It's like, how many no's did we have to get to that one yes? And so it takes some tough skin, and you might lose a listing, lose a client here and there. I've had my plenty of times where I've lost clients, and it's so discouraging because you try so hard. How about you, Nicole? What's been your most trying or most challenging moments in your career thus far, or even right now on this team? That, because you've kind of done a couple teams, you've been with me for couple of years back and forth before you moved to Florida.
Yeah, I mean, Florida was different. That was a different marketplace altogether. But I think the hardest thing is definitely cold calling or door knocking, and just trying to make a connection from someone that you don't know, and from someone who doesn't know you either. And their home is the most important thing to them. So it can be a very sensitive conversation. So I think just how Bailey did, you just have to kind of level with people and, you know, tell them, I'm a person too, and I understand that you have a goal in mind, so let me see if I can help you achieve that. And that's the only thing that you can do, is just start the conversation, and if the answer is no, then at least you know. But you have to try, and that's just what this business is about.
Absolutely.
It's
just
such a numbers game. Such a numbers game.
Every day you gotta push that, you know, pavement.
It's the reset.
Hit the pavement.
The reset button. But that's the best part too, is if you have a horrible day, the next day is completely new. You have new opportunities, and if somebody said no yesterday, you just move on to the next.
Right. Try not to take it personally.
Even though we do.
And then, even though you do.
Even though we're like all on the phone at night, just like, they were so mean.
We just cry behind the scenes.
So just cry behind the scenes. That's what you could do, like us.
Calm, cool, collected, cry afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Today we are talking about what you're most excited about to learn and grow in this year. We're mid-year, July. We're kind of at a bit of a lull in the market. It's a great time to front load in advance of the fall market. What you do, either of you, whoever, personally, what do you want to focus on in growing?
I'm new, right? I'm brand new to the
everything.
So
everything, all the things.
I am not.
We wrote an offer together, which is still different when you write it yourself. So getting to that, okay? That's your goal.
Yeah, I am not too proud to say that I am going to be learning for a long period of time. So literally just like any exposure that I can get to anything I'm
It's
excited
amazing.
for.
Yep.
The big thing that my focus is on is really just like building my client base at this point.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And letting everybody know that you're a realtor. When they
Yes.
think realtor, they think you.
Yes.
I recently had a client interaction. I had reached out to them 2 years ago, and then I saw their property on the off-market site, and I just kicked myself because, and you know, they found the agent who is absolutely wonderful. They're a great team here in the South End, but they did a Google search. So it's highlighting, you know,
Yeah.
they forget. People forget unless they're on social media and following you, but it's so imperative to stay in touch with people. I will say you're doing such a good job of chasing and making sure that everybody knows that you're a realtor. You know, getting out there. It's not easy. It takes a ton of effort and time and dedication, and every day you go in with such a
Well, it feels
hustle.
awkward, right? Like it's
It
like
is awkward.
Yeah. Hey, don't forget.
Hey, don't forget. Hey,
Hi.
Hey,
Do you
how
want
are
my
you?
house?
Are you in the market?
And everyone's like, in this economy?
Yeah, and you're like, fair.
Fair. But no, really.
But
don't-
really.
If you need me.
I will
I
say.
texted my ex-boyfriend from high school.
Oh my gosh.
I said, hi.
He's like, hi? You're like, hi, just want you to know that I do now. Okay, football is good. Bye. Don't ever call me back,
He
Bob.
was very
Bye.
nice about it. I was like, hey, you're engaged now, right? So this is cool. I am too, by the way.
Actually, so last year, I helped my ex, 2 years ago, I helped him buy his house in the
Yeah.
South End, and I was like,
Exes need houses
exes,
too.
everybody needs a house. Exes also need a house. And actually, my high school boyfriend also, I just reached out to him because a client came to a showing at one of our properties. And I was chatting with them, and they said, oh, we have a house on Lake Sunapee. And I was like, do you know these people? And they're like, yes. And I was like, I dated him. And they're like, wow, okay. And I'm like,
That's great.
we share this. No, we're bonding. Yeah. I mean, I texted him. I said, you know, if you could message them by the house. He's like, what? Like, football's good. Okay, bye. Just shameless. You just sometimes have to be shameless. I will say, as a new agent, there's a huge benefit of working with someone that's just starting off. They have all the time to dedicate to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, if Bailey takes you on as a client, she's going to work with you so much and be fully dedicated to you because she's not with anybody else, right?
My first rental clients, I literally was investing hours.
Yeah.
Hours.
She did 10 hours of open houses last week.
She did.
She
So
did.
It's just
About you, Nicole, what's the plan for this year?
More
To front load.
listings.
More listings.
More listings.
Yeah.
So I'm being the creepy neighbor and just leaving post-it notes on my neighbors' front doors and sending
Not
them
creepy at all.
letters
Not
and
creepy.
calling them. And you know, I live in Brighton, so a lot of these homes are multifamily homes that are rented out to college students, and
And multi-generational, right?
they are.
Which
yeah.
you personally have experience in that.
I am, yes. I actually live in my grandparents' old house that
Yeah.
they bought when they first came to Massachusetts. They came to Boston in the 40s, I believe.
Mhm.
So I live in the house that they bought. They actually wanted to buy that house because the streetcar went past us.
Aw.
So, I mean, they since took out the train tracks and there's
Sure.
no green line over there, but at one point, you know, the streetcar used to pass by
Yeah,
and it was
so
a whopping like $20,000, so they did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the dream of, they were here for 4 years and
Mhm.
they purchased a house, and homeownership was their greatest joy, and
Yeah.
for me to be able to live in that house and take care of it for them
It's pretty cool.
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I can help other people in my neighborhood, you know, keep that community feeling and have more family ownership, that would
Yeah.
be amazing.
Yeah, so more listings, getting out there. I would say my personal one is also more listings
Mhm.
and trying to be more engaged with the community. I teach yoga at 2 yoga studios. One of them has a fairly young clientele that's over in Southie at the Hot Box, and that's through Handlebar. And then I teach at Down Under Yoga. I went to a showing yesterday, and the woman that was showing us, she's the daughter of the owner of the whole building. I said something about yoga and Down Under, and she said, I go to Down Under. And I was like, come to my class. And then I went downstairs to one of the tenants. One of the tenants comes to my class, or used to come to my class when I taught at Core Power. So she was like, Steph! It's just a small world. So staying more in touch with my community, building out that so that people, whether it's Down Under, Hotbox, wherever, know that I'm a realtor. So that's us. Yeah. Keep getting out there. Today we're talking about our favorite client stories, whether they're good or bad. Maybe they taught you something, they tested your resilience. I'll start with mine, and then you guys can think about yours. So my favorite client story is a client that called me. She was an online lead. She said, there's a property I want to see in the South End. Met her and her then boyfriend. She was living in California, in LA. Later I found out that they were actually looking to rent, not to buy. We looked at that property, and then I actually set up 2 other showings for that same day. Got to know her and her boyfriend. He was a physician. We found them a property, and they ended up buying it. We got a great deal on it. And then they subsequently, so what I didn't realize was they weren't engaged or anything like that, but they were moving in together. They have now gotten engaged, and now they're getting married in September, and they are very, very dear friends of ours. So, and she actually attests that when they met me, they weren't even thinking about buying a place, just, curious about that one property to rent, which it wasn't for rent. I know, you probably have some really crazy ones.
Some wild ones. I think the worst... I'll go with the worst, actually. This one.
So mine was positive. Nicole's gonna go negative.
Yes,
right
we're just gonna flip flop really.
Yeah, really flip flop.
Because it's not always happy and peachy keen. No, this was.
In fact, it's mostly not happy and peachy.
Very true. Very true. But we try. So this one was in Brighton. It was a 2-family home, and the family lived there. The mother lived upstairs. She was very elderly, and then the adult son lived downstairs. It's not funny and it's not a joke, but he just didn't have anywhere to go if the house was being sold. Even though he was getting half of the proceeds. So he was going to be fine.
Right.
This is why it's a joke, but he was going to get at least $1 million out of this, so he was going to be just fine. He would come up at my open houses crawling on the floor and pretend to be a baby and cry. He'd be like, stop it, please don't sell my house, I have nowhere to go. And I'd be like, sir, please stop. You shouldn't be here.
Stop it.
Please stop scaring the open house attendees.
No.
Yeah.
No. Did he wear a baby outfit? Or
no, he knew what he was doing. He was very purposely just acting like
a crazy person.
Insane to scare people away. So that was fun.
Did you end up selling it?
Yeah, they ended up selling. It was great, and he bought his own place. Happy ending. It was fine, but totally sabotaged every single open house I held. And I would tell him different times to try to beat him out of it so he wouldn't be there, and he would always
find out. You should bring him a pacifier next time. Be like, I think you need this. Grow up.
I was very nice. I did bring them coffee and donuts one morning, and I was like, hey, I'm going to be upstairs for a little while, and
he would come up and start rolling around on the floor?
Yeah. It's wild.
Commitment. Literally, you cannot make that up. That sounds literally horrible.
Yeah. And it was during the peak of COVID, too, so he would, freak people out and, not wear a mask.
And cough?
No. Not that malicious, but he would just, come up all the time.
And cry like a baby? Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of sad.
It's sad / funny.
It's sad, but we have to deal with a lot of different personalities, and everyone has something going on. And I think he just needed to get the facts of what was really happening, and that no one was trying to take money from him, and no one was trying to sell his mom's house. And at the end of the day, he was going to get a good chunk, and
he made out great with that.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yikes,
happy
Nicole.
ending.
Just a little difficult.
Happy ending, but
that's a funny
my
episode.
goodness.
That was fun.
I don't even know what I would do if an open house attendee was there and they were like, what is happening? They'd probably pull me aside and been like, and I'd be like,
I don't know. 50-year-old man crawling in the living
50?
room. Yes. He had 2 adult children that were in college.
No.
Him and his
I was thinking like 22.
No,
Yeah.
no. It was like an older man. And his mother was like very elderly, and she lived upstairs in that
That's
unit.
worse.
And
That's
he
worse.
lived downstairs, and he just didn't want to move. He was comfortable.
Oh my god.
So then he should have bought the house.
He could probably
Yeah, but he didn't have the money. 'Cause he got it from her
the
selling.
proceeds. Yeah.
Yeah. Silly guy.
Yikes! But look at you navigated it and
was
did
fine.
great.
Yeah.
Wow, slightly different than my story, Bailey.
I don't have many to pick from yet, but the one that stands out most right now is from one of my neighborhood prospecting outreaches. And the conversation started out very hostile, to say the least.
Yeah.
I was threatened with mafia ties.
Great.
Great
start.
Which, you know, if anyone knows anything about the North End, obviously there's history with that, and I've been there for a bit, so I'm not easily put off by it.
You're like, and
So
what else do you have?
So that's basically how I responded, and I think that was like really the door opening. Like it was almost like an initiation, a hazing initiation in a way, I think.
Like, are you tough enough?
Are you tough enough?
You know, test my credentials. And I didn't bat an eye. I said, okay, yeah, so do I. And I don't. Just to be very clear.
I'm sure we could find somebody.
I could, right. I mean, I look Italian enough.
Right. You could find someone. You could just go to your local coffee shop and be like, do you know anyone? I need someone on my side here.
So, and also like, I'm young and I'm cute and I'm gonna get out of whatever I need to get out of. So like, we're good. Let's go.
Right.
So I was like, yeah. I hear you, but about your house. And the long story, very long, it was like an hour-long conversation that I ended up having in the beginning of it. We have not sold said property yet. This is very much so a new relationship, but I think just being able to say that I started a conversation in that way.
It's great.
And they, you know, responded in a way that was like, oh, this girl actually is not messing around, and like, if we are going to have the opportunity to sell our property in the next couple of years, which it's a huge, beautiful home with 6 units in it, you know, if I'm able to at the end of that say that like, this is where the relationship started and this is where we ended up, like, I think that will be
huge success.
That, yes, but like, what a relationship. Like, that would be my all-time, like, life favorite client of any job that I've been in. Just
absolutely.
As a result of that conversation, you're going there next week to meet with
true.
her.
That's
So, I mean, it's the start of a wonderful relationship. So,
you know, I'm learning
so
quickly.
2 positives. Well, sort of. Mine was really positive.
Yours was really
You both really took it to the next level.
Yours is like too good to be true.
Yeah, I know, it really was.
Beautiful story.
Beautiful couple.
I did ask this woman if she would adopt me, and she said yes at the end of the conversation.
Oh,
I was like,
cute.
wow, you sound
So you're in.
really...
You're in. You're adopted.
I was like, you sound great. Do you want another daughter? I love my parents. I would never want another set of adopted parents, but like someone in the North End, like, she's gonna offer to cook me dinner. Of course I'm gonna go.
You're right. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So those are a couple of our favorite client stories.